Hey, what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the another edition of the World Changing Podcast Fireside Chat. This is Jordan Rosar, and I hope each and every one of you are having an absolutely incredible. Whenever I put this up, I'll probably be over the weekend, but right now I'm recording on Thursday, so I hope that you are having a amazing Thursday, amazing Friday, into an amazing Saturday. And so, what I want to go ahead and I want to talk about on today's session is really illustrate the concept, really get this ingrained into you. We are worthy. We are worthy. Now, what does that mean? I feel that a lot of times, whenever we are wanting to do something, and I took a deeper dive into this listening to a Trent Shelton self-worth course, and there's a lot of notes I want to go ahead and talk about. There's a lot of powerful stuff that I took from that I want to give inspiration for as best as I can. But the idea is the difference between where we are currently and what we desire in life, our aspirations, our dreams, are determined by this concept of self-worth. And through self-worth, though, you come to start really internalizing what it is that you are, what it is that you desire to be, what it is that you are capable of in terms of achievement and also living your best life. Now, to talk about self-worth, there's a few things that we need to go ahead and get into, which is to understand worth, how worth can go ahead and influence the people in your community, the people in your network, the people in your family. Our job isn't necessarily to be influenced by the world. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, but our job is to influence the world. Again, I want to repeat, our job is not to be influenced by the world. Our job is to influence the world in whatever it is that we do. For me, I influence the world by creating an amazing podcast. And again, that's not to, be boastful, be arrogant, pat myself on the back, but that is my mindset going into what I'm doing for the podcast, the World Changing Podcast, covering my Forex trading days, covering the interviews I have on the show, covering deeper mindset videos like the one that you're seeing right now. It is all tied to the worth that I have within myself that I want to influence the world by. And when we put it into that perspective, what we're doing is that we're acknowledging two things about ourselves, two things: acceptance of self and confidence of self. Now, let's talk about acceptance of self first. Acceptance of self is really going to be the basis for your power. Acceptance is power. Acceptance to me means you understand what your past is, you acknowledge and you accept the past. You're not enslaved by the past because the past does not dictate the present version of you, which will not dictate the future version of you. However, it's important to accept all the things that you were, past, present, and future, and how this past, with the right perspective, which we'll get into later, with the right perspective, can really help shape the person that you are right now, and will also shape the person that you will become in the future. Acceptance is also part of this thing that we're all looking for, that I desire to have most than anything else. I talked about this before. There are, a lot of things in my life that I would consider improving my self-worth. We can talk about money, we can talk about health, success, the love, the family, the friends, the relationships, but above all, what I desire in this lifetime is something called freedom. And when we learn to accept ourselves, up to everything that we have been, own everything that we become, and own everything that we are becoming, that is the true definition of freedom. So, my question to you is, what are you destined to become? What do you accept of yourself that will truly liberate you? And I go into a lot of things about myself. I own the fact that I have, in this particular journey, I have gained a lot of wisdom, gained a lot of perspective, gained a lot of experience. I have been ever grateful to form a business before what I'm currently doing. And I have lost that business, lost some of the contacts, lost some of the relationships. And I proudly accept that, knowing that without those relationships, they would have not influenced me to take the path that I am currently at right now. Being grateful for the things that you have lost in order to make room for the things that will become a part of your life is part of that acceptance journey. It's part of that self-worth journey that you are creating for yourself. And throughout that time, there are also other friendships, other things that may have been lost in that space, in this journey that I've taken. Yet, because of that, this has allowed me to, again, make room for all the things that are going to be a part of my life, that are already here at this present moment to be a part of my life. And so that acceptance of self is one part of the self-worth that we all have. The second part is confidence. Now, as far as confidence goes, let me give you my definition to confidence. Confidence to me is having the courage of my convictions to believe in the abilities and talents that are bestowed upon myself. So all that fancy phrase, all that fancy saying truly means that I am convinced that what I am pursuing, that what I am doing right here, I am convinced that through my convictions, I have the courage of my convictions to, even if this journey is unknown, uncertain, unfamiliar, and it scares the ever-living shit out of me, I'll let you spell out what that means. Even if it scares me, I believe within my heart of heart that I will persist until I succeed. Now, I didn't learn that by Trent Shelton. That's from my other mentor, Dean Graciosi, on that one. I will persist until I succeed. And another part of that definition of courage is to share, or to shape, I should say, shape my perspective to ensure that I am the unshakable belief in my abilities and talents. So what I mean by that is, in my own journey so far, I have traded, and there have been great days, there have been bad days, there have been ugly days, there have been great moments, and there have been ugly moments in my accounts. And throughout that, it could be perceived as, if I didn't have the right mindset, a humiliation. Especially because I'm teaching people how to invest in the financial market. Allowing that recording to see myself make a mistake, mess up, I could perceive that as, and this is where I was talking about perception, where we're going to come back into it. I could perceive that moment, if I didn't have the confidence of, oh, I humiliated myself. What this has done, no one is going to want to see this. There is no reason for them to see this because of the mistakes that I've made. But however, I went ahead and reshaped the perspective through confidence to say, they actually will need to learn this lesson to know that as great as I am in this, and again, I'm not here to boast or to be arrogant. It's more about, again, coming back to that self-worth mindset, that even though I am great at what I do, there are still things that I need to learn. If you're not growing in life, you are dying. We've talked about this many times. I've mentioned this particular quote many times from from Tony Robbins. But if we're not growing, we're dying. So, in order for what I do as a teacher to grow, in order for me to grow as a coach, I must go through these moments to help shape my perspective, to help me contribute to my personal development and growth. And over time, what you will begin to accept and begin to grow confident in, those two things, acceptance of self and confidence of self, you'll need those two things in order to go ahead and first define and then improve your self-worth to have the things that you desire. And by doing this, you're owning yourself, you're loving yourself, and you're knowing yourself. And knowledge is power, right? Or I should say knowledge is potential power, but once we apply of what we know about ourselves, then that potential power becomes power. A life without limitations is a life full of elevations. Once we're able to define limitations by accepting what our limitations are in our current selves, that gives us then the opportunity to go ahead and push past those particular limitations and tell ourselves that because we broke through that, we can now elevate to the next level, and we can elevate to the next level, and we can elevate to the next level. And so by breaking the concept of life with limitations, if we perceive the limitations as more so opportunities for us to further our growth, further our development, and begin to look at those limitations as more so just growing points, more so growing opportunities, labeling limitations in a different way so we can elevate, that is true freedom right there. Because now we're not constrained by what we perceive as limitations, but instead we are empowered by what we see as a growth opportunity for both you and me. And I've gone through growth opportunities many times, especially when I started my whole journey into podcasting, my whole journey into Forex trading. There were plenty of growth opportunities, from leaving one podcast behind to start another podcast with a company that I helped form, to leaving that podcast and starting just my own podcast, doing it on my own without anybody as a partner, anyone who is supporting me. Now, granted, there are people that, and again, I don't mean to get too egotistical, but there are people that do view and support me, which I'm forever grateful for. But however, that right there does not define me doing what I love to do. What I do is based on what I love. It's based on my passions. My passions do guide me, but I know that the true concept of me putting in the work is the fact that I've grown to accept the person I am, and I'm confident in the person that I am, and that I will continue to become as I move forward. And that's exactly how you have to look at this. You have to look at it as, even with every limitation in my or your life, we instead shape the perspective to, this is a growth opportunity. This is something that we can go ahead and overcome, block, destroy, eliminate, so that we can become the better person that we are striving, desiring, and pulling ourselves to be because of the great visions that we have for ourselves. Let me ask you this question. How different would your life be? And you can write this down in the comments down below. How different would your life be if you were able to live free? How different would it be to say, instead of, oh, I'd love to do this, but such and such is preventing me. Instead, whatever that thing was, doesn't exist. What if we were able to just say that thing does not exist, and instead or even if we can't say it doesn't exist, we frame it to, oh, let me say, for example, I'm terrible at marketing. I'm going to be straight honest. I am terrible at marketing, but instead of allowing this terrible or this weakness of marketing to hold me back in terms of what I'm doing, instead, I learn from the greats. I learn from the people who are great at marketing. I learn to continue to develop that skill in my own way, try different things, experiment with things that are working, learn from people who have been doing it a lot better than me, and allow myself to grow and allow myself to level up to the next level of the person that I need to be in order to make what I want to do, make my empire grow. So, what are your limitations? Or even better yet, what are the things that we all know are not truly limitations, but just opportunities that we need to force ourselves to grow into in order to become the next level of ourselves? That's a very, very, very powerful question I have for you. And even if you don't write in the comments, write it down for yourself. That way, you know, okay, this is what I need to work on. This is what I'm going to do. And the how will come once you recognize the what and the why. Acceptance of self. So let's come back to acceptance of self. And this is what's going to influence it. But there's about three things. No, I'm sorry, two things that it influences. Now, we talked about freedom already, but what it also influences is focus and faith. So let's talk about focus. If we accept ourselves and focus on the things that we are in control of instead of focusing on the things that we are not in control of. So we're not in focus of the inflation, the recession, the economy, all this stuff about Wall Street going down and all the panic. We are not in control of all of that. What we are in control of is developing our skills and talents that are needed to essentially make ourselves recession proof, make ourselves make ourselves detached from the economic storm that is going on. Because when we see what we can control, which is working on our skills, working on our businesses, working on our passions, working on our endeavors, if we're able to go ahead and do that without saying that we are limited, but instead we need to grow into this, then our focus increases. Our focus is then tied to the things that are going to be what's right about us and not what's wrong about us. Now, acceptance of self also influences faith. Faith to me is one of the cornerstones of what I do as a podcaster, as a Forex trader, as a Forex coach, because I need the faith. I desire the faith to have the belief in myself that I am a world-changing emperor. I am a 10, 11, 12 counting figure earner. I am a global network. I am the top podcaster in the world. I am the top Forex coach in the world. Yes, those are affirmations. And yes, I said them as if I remembered them, memorized them, and all that. But I'll come back to the fact that I've been journaling a lot of those ideals for the past year and let's see, that was July 2021. So that would be about a year and 3 months I've been journaling this. And because I've been journaling this, it's already ingrained into my mind. It's implanted into my conscious and subconscious so that it can never be taken away by anything or anyone. And so by having this faith, what this does for you is it allows you to have the faith in whatever it is that you want to do, you desire to do. It gives you the faith in believing that whatever your unique abilities and talents are, It gives you the faith to go and do it even when nobody believes in you, because we don't need anyone to believe in us. Again, we are not here to be influenced by the world. We are not here to be given permission by people. We are here to influence the world, and we are here to do what we want in spite of what people believe. There will be people that will love you. There will be people that will absolutely hate your guts. However, you are not to be influenced by either one party. The only person that you have to influence, the only person that you have to answer to in this lifetime is yourself. That's the only person that you need to hold, that you are accountable for. Now, yes, there's family, there's friends, of course. We love them, and we want to give them everything that we can. I'm not saying that that's not one of our objectives, but in terms of what we need to do in order to get to that place, the start of this journey begins with you, and you first most. Greatness. Now let's talk about confidence, because greatness in all aspects of life, money, fulfillment, passion, family, friends, everything that you can dream and desire in this life is not possible without confidence. Think about it like this. I would not be able to sit in front of this camera with my Scrooge McDuck Donald Duck background in the right there with the gold, it's diving into the gold. I would not be able to go ahead and do all of this if I didn't have the confidence and the belief to understand that I can go ahead and talk to people in this matter, that I can teach them something that I believe is very valuable and very important. If I didn't have that confidence, then none of this is possible. The podcast is not possible. My endeavors are not possible. So to start with all the greatness that comes in through all of our lives, through all of our aspects, it must start with confidence. See, the goal of doing this is to understand, and there's 3 goals we're going to talk about, but the goal of that is to understand and believe how great you are. Because I am 100% confident that you are absolutely awesome in something. You are absolutely amazing at a talent that I may not see, because I may not have as Trent Shelton likes to call it, I don't have your glasses, I don't have your vision, but I truly believe if I were to be in your shoes, if I were to walk at least a foot in your shoes, that I would be able to pick up on something that you are absolutely awesome at. Again, I don't know what that is, and I don't know why that gift was created for you, but you have that gift. And you have the ability and the power and the worth to unleash it. Confidence is being fine whether I'm liked or not. See, I want to tell everybody a story. In all of my life, before I really turned 27, before this year, my biggest problem, and I still deal with this problem on a daily basis. Now, the beautiful thing about problems, and I'll get to my problem in a second, is that it is actually, if you view a problem as a growth opportunity, changes the ball game. That's something I had to learn this year. However, one of my biggest problems is that I am the biggest person pleaser in the world, and no one can tell me otherwise. A lot of my worth I tied to, at first, the world, being influenced by the world. If someone needed me to do something, I'd do it. Someone needed me to go to something, I'd do it. I did all of these things. Not, yes, perhaps it came from a And I still like to go ahead and be of service to people. I am grateful to be of service to a lot of people, but I also understood that another part of it was I wanted to make sure I got approval from people. And that's one of the biggest pills I've had to swallow this entire year. Like all I thought about was how can I go ahead and how can I get people's approval? How can I use what I do to make people like me? What could I do to make people love me? And I did all that. I focused on the outside, and what I didn't do was focus on how's Jordan doing? Is Jordan loving this? Does Jordan feel fulfilled? Does Jordan feel like he is moving along in his direction? That was something that I ignored for a very long time. And now I'm starting to realize how important that is. Again, once we recognize the problem as an opportunity, the game changes. So now I do my show. I do my episodes, podcasts, all that without the approval of anybody. And whether people watch it or not, I'm still here. I'm still going. I made a promise to myself when I got the vision on the weekend before September 6th to create this right here. This was going to be the catalyst or the start to something huge. And whether or not people gave me the approval to start it, I had to go ahead and get it started. And that's what you need to do. You have to understand that your own confidence can be achieved, can be fulfilled, whether people like you or people don't like you. And it's not that we don't wish people well. It's not that we aren't open to perspective, open to positive feedback, all that good stuff. However, this isn't what we're talking about. We're talking about the confidence just to get started, whether people like it or not. And if we have that confidence to just do it, as Shia LaBeouf said in that one video from a long time ago, just do it. I can't do the voice, mind you. But the point of long story short, you must have the confidence to do it, even when people won't side with you on it. And confidence reduces fear, by the way. Think of it like this. What would your life look like if fear was not a factor in your life? One of the things that I struggled with as a adolescent, and I still kind of deal with it today, is looking at the I mean, I'm a guy, right? But looking at someone, a female that I was attracted to, and asking them for a date, asking them for a cup of coffee. And it was I started to finally say, you know what, okay, it's time for this year to go ahead and start asking that question, to go ahead and do that with the people that I like. And the funny thing is, once I did that, whether or not I was rejected, what it gave me was the confidence to go ahead and do it again. And that's the beautiful thing about that rejection that I got initially. I could have used it again. Rejection is everything in life is about perspective. So there's two sides of the perspective I could have handled when dealing with rejection. Rejection could have been, oh, I am never doing this again. I got hurt. No one wants to date me, all that. But I know that was complete bullshit. So I let that perspective go. Instead, I said, okay, I can ask people. And the worst thing that's going to happen is somebody says no. Okay, beautiful. So I went ahead and I took that to heart. And now I have reduced that fear of finding the person that I desire to seek. And that's just a small part of what I want to talk about. But doing an action like that for me is now going to increase my chances of finding that life partner that I want and finding that soulmate that I want. And so if I know that, if that right there, if that's just a small example of how courage can reduce my fear and start living the life that I want to, what will that look like for you? What would reducing fear, or not even acknowledging fear, not even acknowledging that word? We never say that word again in our lives, or even think about that word in our lives. What would that look like for you in your life? What desires would you be able to accomplish? What goals, what dreams, what aspirations, if you did not have to worry about that particular word? Confidence reduces self-doubt. And there have been times there now, self-doubt never goes away. There's always self-doubt that's going to happen, especially if you're just getting started. And it'll keep trickling down as you move forward. You're going to start to get what I like to call the fears that pop up into your mind. Oh, what if I'm not good enough? I got this. People say imposter syndrome. I'm like, okay, imposter syndrome. Even though I'm like, is that just a fancy word for I don't believe in myself? And now, I'm not trying to downgrade or downplay the whole thing, but but at the end of the day, everything that ties into that is going to self-doubt. And so if we have that confidence to say, you know what, I'm doing this, I'm speaking to people, even though in my mind I've still got this self-doubt in my mind, like, are people really going to listen to this, Jordan? Like that is going to play in, that's playing in my mind right now, but I'm telling that voice to shut the F up and let me do this. And so you got to have that confidence so you can reduce that self-doubt. Tell that voice in the back of your head that's saying you can't do it to shut the F up. Pardon my French, but I'm just telling you how important it is to go ahead and do that. Confidence also reduces worry. Worry about, oh man, do I have the skills, the capabilities to go ahead and do this? Is this going to affect it? Am I worried about all these unmitigating life circumstances that could impede what I desire in life? The confidence to know that no matter what goes in your life, that you can go ahead and turn that around and say, I'm still here, that because of the journey I have taken, and I am grateful enough to be here speaking on a camera, and that's just me. You are also here. You are also in this place, wherever it is on your journey. You've been shaped, and by taking the optimistic perspective is like what I like to call it, by taking that and allowing yourself to feel okay. Like I'm here, I'm doing my thing. I've learned so much wisdom along the way. I can go ahead and spread that wisdom to people, because I guarantee you that worry in your head that's saying, oh, what if it's not perfect? What if this is not enough? Your small step that you believe that is in your head, you're imperfect. And I remember hearing this from one of our coaches that I have, that I had a meeting with earlier this morning on Thursday, that imperfectionism that you believe you have can be absolutely perfect to somebody who desires it the most. And the goal in this part is to ensure that you are enough. And you are enough, my friends. You are absolutely enough. Don't let anybody tell you different. No, I used to have all these things about, oh, I'm not enough. Oh, I must do this. I must do that. Like I always had to feel like I had to do more in order to get the approval of the world. But guess what? Though, you don't need the world's approval. You don't need 8 billion people to like you. You don't need 8 billion people to tell you that you are enough. You only need one person to tell you that you're enough, and that is you. You can tell yourself in the mirror, as I'm saying this right now, I'm looking at myself in my camera smiling, and I'm telling myself that you are enough. And if you can believe and convince yourself that you are enough, And that's it. Everything else is taken care of for you, because let me put it to you in this perspective. When it comes to knowing your worth, you must realize you are created with worth when you were born. I want to, and by telling you this, let's think about this. As you're watching, as I'm speaking, I speak with the perspective of I come from two sets of parents. I'm sorry, I come from a set of parents. Let's back that up. Let's back that up. I come from a set of parents that was a chance that they met each other, was another chance that they got to a point where they were able to conceive me. There was a chance that, well, look, we don't have to get into the specifics, right? But basically a lot of stuff has to unfold in order to get the version that this guy. There was a lot of stuff that if everything worked out perfectly, if you think about it, it's an absolute miracle that I am here speaking, because a lot of things have to work in the right way in order for that to happen. Now, as you're watching this, as you're watching me, and you're thinking about your own talents, think of it like this. You were given this brain, this mind, this body, this soul, this spirit. And that in itself is a miracle, because again, a lot of things had to happen for you in order to go ahead and have that particular combination. The universe created one of me. The universe created one of you. The universe has a plan for me. The universe has a plan for you. And that plan is unique to everybody. However, like plans, it's just like roadmaps. You can be given the directions to your map, to your dream, your destiny, the life that you desire, but you have to follow and take the actions on this map, on this plan, in order to make it happen. Even though, by the way, the universe plan isn't always pretty, it's purposeful. There are certain events in my life that I can think about. Maybe it was the fact that I was a bit of a loner in high school, middle school, elementary school. Maybe it was the fact that I was perceived as the lone wolf in high school. Maybe it was the fact that I had about 2 years of college before I decided to leave that, mostly because at the time I couldn't afford it, and go on my own path instead. Maybe it was the fact that I went from one job to then my career in the financial industry, to then my other career in the financial industry, then to podcasting, then to Forex trading with one company, then to another company, and now going here with what I'm doing for my company, plus the podcast, plus my business. Maybe that was, perhaps, if we put in the right perspective, perhaps that was all done with all the other circumstances that have happened in my life because there was a purpose, because it built structure and foundation within myself in order to go ahead and give the knowledge and wisdom that I can give and share to each one of you. So you have to ask yourself, what you're doing, your passion, your business, your endeavor, the plan that the universe has put into your perspective, was that done in the prettiest fashion? A lot of us are probably going to say, hell no. However, I will submit to you that the plan that was, that the journey you have gone through was purposeful, because it showed you a lot of things that needed to be shown. If we peel back the layers, you're going to be able to see exactly what was needed in order to help you grow in the right direction. I want you to remember this. We are worthy. We have the power to determine what our self-worth is. No one can influence that. The world can't influence that. You can influence that. In fact, the universe has already deemed what your worth is. And from what I know about the universe, being a creation of love, being a creation of giving, being a creation of abundance, you're also meant for all those things. You are worthy of all these things: love, giving, receiving, abundance. That is all yours. And all you need to do is accept that, be confident in that, and take it. Everybody, you have a beautiful rest of your night, rest of your day, whenever you're watching this. Be great, be favored, and be the person that you desire and that you are destined to be. Thank you.